To understand how Tencent became a global behemoth, we have to look back at a critical turning point in the mid-2000s. Western tech giants were waking up to China's massive market potential. Among them, Microsoft was aggressive. Redmond wanted Windows, MSN, and its enterprise footprint embedded into every corner of Chinese business. On paper, Tencent was just a local player running a desktop messenger called QQ and selling digital avatars. But Pony Ma saw what Microsoft missed. Western companies relied on software licensing, while Tencent was building a behavioral ecosystem. When Microsoft tried to push MSN Messenger into China, it wasn't just a corporate rivalry. It was a battle between two completely different philosophies of the internet. Microsoft thought in terms of productivity tools and corporate subscriptions, but Tencent thought in terms of daily human connection, identity, and social engagement. While Western analysts were focused on e-commerce platforms and search engines, Pony Ma quietly executed one of the most calculated pivots in corporate history: online gaming. In the mid-2000s, video games in China were widely criticized by state media and conservative critics as digital opium. Most corporate CEOs distanced themselves to protect their brand image and corporate reputation. Tencent did the exact opposite. Pony Ma realized that games were not just entertainment or simple hobbies, they were social infrastructure. If you could control where millions of teenagers spent their evenings competing, chatting, and connecting, you owned their digital identity, their peer groups, and their future spending habits. Tencent didn't start by creating massive AAA blockbusters from scratch. They began by acquiring licensing rights for foreign titles, particularly from South Korea, such as Crossfire and Dungeon Fighter Online. They localized them for Chinese servers, added aggressive monetization models, and integrated them directly into the QQ social network. Before Silicon Valley even realized what was happening, Tencent had established an unprecedented, self-sustaining cash flow machine that was generating hundreds of millions of dollars every quarter. At the same time, Microsoft was focusing on traditional PC operating systems, completely oblivious to the massive shift in digital entertainment taking place in East Asia. Microsoft assumed that Chinese users would adopt the same desktop habits as Western consumers, but Tencent recognized that young users didn't just want productivity, they wanted virtual spaces to express themselves. Every virtual item bought in QQ games was strengthening a closed-loop economy that no Western tech giant could penetrate. Tencent's control over distribution gave them ultimate power over game developers. If an international studio wanted access to hundreds of millions of Chinese players, they had to go through Tencent. This created a massive competitive advantage. While Western publishers were battling piracy and fragmented distribution networks, Tencent was running a centralized digital empire where piracy was practically impossible because everything was tied directly to user accounts. By 2008, a small indie studio in Los Angeles called Riot Games was working on a title that many legacy publishers ignored: League of Legends. While American venture capitalists hesitated to fund a free-to-play PC game, Tencent stepped in. They didn't just invest, they financed the global server infrastructure, managed local server scaling, and guaranteed massive distribution in Asia. By 2011, Tencent acquired a majority stake, eventually buying Riot outright in 2015 for an estimated $400 million. Think about the sheer strategic vision here. An American studio created the game, but a Shenzhen boardroom owned the cash flow, the player data, the IP rights, and the global distribution network. While Silicon Valley was debating social media ad metrics and user acquisition costs, Tencent quietly owned the biggest esports title on the planet, completely controlling the entire competitive gaming ecosystem. If buying Riot Games gave Tencent the king of desktop esports, their next move targeted the very foundation of modern gaming graphics and digital engine architecture. In 2012, Tencent paid $330 million for a 40% stake in Epic Games. At the time, Epic was known mostly for Gears of War and local engine development, but Pony Ma wasn't buying a single game franchise. He was buying the Unreal Engine. Today, Unreal Engine powers not only top-tier AAA games across PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, but it is also used in Hollywood film production, architecture, virtual production, and military simulations. Every time a competitor uses Unreal Engine to build a blockbuster game, a portion of that revenue flows back to Shenzhen. When Epic Games launched Fortnite and went to war with Apple over App Store fees, Tencent sat comfortably in the background, knowing that whether Apple or Epic won, their underlying infrastructure investment was completely secure. However, desktop and console dominance was only half the battle. As smartphones took over the global economy, Tencent engineered its own internal mobile masterpiece, Honor of Kings. Developed by their Timi studio, it became a massive cultural phenomenon in China, generating hundreds of millions of dollars every single month and boasting over 100 million daily active users. To expand this mobile dominance internationally, Tencent partnered with South Korean developer Krafton to create PUBG Mobile. By taking a PC hit and converting it into a global mobile phenomenon, Tencent proved it could conquer both Western and Asian mobile markets simultaneously. They didn't just publish the game, they designed the live service framework that kept hundreds of millions of players returning every single day. They didn't stop there. In 2016, Tencent completed its crown jewel acquisition, Finland's Supercell, the creators of Clash of Clans and Clash Royale, for $8.6 billion. It was one of the largest gaming deals in corporate history. Supercell was a lean team of under 200 people, generating billions in revenue with virtually zero hardware footprint. Pony Ma allowed Supercell to operate completely autonomously in Helsinki, adhering to a strict strategy: buy the best creative talent in the world, leave the internal operations alone, and control the global financial spigot. While Western media outlets focused on direct consumer brands, Tencent built a massive web of minority stakes in over 800 companies worldwide, including Ubisoft, Discord, and Spotify. This invisible investment network meant that Tencent was profiting from global digital culture, regardless of which platform or game was trending at any given moment. When you look at the big picture, Tencent's rivalry with Microsoft wasn't fought with press releases, ad campaigns, or courtroom antitrust battles. It was fought in the background, pixel by pixel, server by server, and transaction by transaction. Microsoft eventually realized they were falling behind in the digital entertainment race, forcing them to acquire Activision Blizzard for nearly $70 billion just to match Tencent's global reach. But while Microsoft bought one giant publisher, Tencent spent 2 decades building an interconnected web of digital dominance. Pony Ma proved that true power in the 21st century doesn't require putting your logo on every building or billboard. It requires owning the underlying networks, payment gateways, and software engines that people use every single day. The dark archive of tech history shows us that while Silicon Valley builds headlines, Shenzhen builds empires in silence. If you want to uncover the hidden architectures behind the modern digital world, subscribe to the Dark Archive and turn on notifications. In our next episode, Tencent Series number 3, we will investigate the invisible surveillance ecosystem, WeChat, and how one single app managed to digitize the daily lives of an entire nation. Until then, stay vigilant.